Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In this special video, I'm going to talk about one of the most challenging IELTS writing task 2 essays, which is advantages and disadvantages essays. Let me just highlight something very important before diving into the actual explanation. Many students think that there is one type of IELTS advantages and disadvantages essays or questions. Actually, we have two types of this specific essay. Okay, so you need to be aware of that before we move on. Okay, not all IELTS advantages and disadvantages essays actually share the same structure. It's not correct. We have two different types, and I mean it. Yes, different types. So you might have heard or you might have come across, for example, the first type of questions that says discuss both advantages and disadvantages. And we have another type that says, do advantages outweigh disadvantages or do disadvantages outweigh advantages? So as you can see, these two questions are quite different. Why? I will explain to you what technique you have to follow or to use or utilize in order to score high in IELTS writing task 2 essays. So I want you please to stick around till the end to make sure that you would fully understand this very particular lesson. Okay, so let me just highlight something else or just emphasize another thing. There's a specific structure that you always have to be aware of, which is the 4-paragraph structure. So you don't have or you can't miss out the introduction, main body paragraph 1, main body paragraph 2, and the introduction. So you need to be aware of this specific structure. Otherwise, you would lose a lot of marks. You need to be aware of the vocabularies that you have to use in your essay. You need to be aware of using complex sentences and simple sentences. You need also to be conscious and cognizant of the usage of conjunction words or connecting adverbs. For example, although, despite, however. We have a lot. You can check, by the way, my previous videos. I have already uploaded 2 videos about conjunction words and connecting adverbs. Try to go back to these videos. Definitely, they are going to help you a lot in your writing task 2 essays. So as you can see on my screen right here, so I'm going to talk about IELTS advantages and disadvantages essay. Okay, so now it's time to just let me just minimize it for a bit. Okay, so it's better now to see the screen instead of me. Okay, so let's just focus on this lesson together. Okay, so we have IELTS advantages and disadvantages essay lesson here. So as you can see, IELTS advantages and disadvantages questions normally give you a statement and ask you to comment on the advantages and disadvantages of that statement. The problem is that there are 2 different types of advantages and disadvantages essay, and they each require a different approach, as I have mentioned earlier. If you answer them in a different way, then you risk losing lots of easy marks. This lesson will look at each of the 3 question types and suggest a standard sentence-by-sentence structure for each of them, actually the 2 question types. There will also be sample answers for each of the 2 questions, actually, to help you compare and understand the 2 approaches. Okay, so now let me just show you the first type of questions for IELTS advantages and disadvantages essays. Let's read the question together. In some countries, young people are encouraged to work or travel for a year between finishing high school and starting university studies. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages for young people who decide to do this. So if I look at this question here, As you can see, it's a very straightforward question. So it doesn't require a lot of complications to be able to start the introduction or to be able to plan the actual structure of it. It's quite actually close to the problem and solution essays. I have just uploaded, by the way, a video about problem and solution essays. You can check it out to make sure that you will be more familiar with this specific question type. So the advantage, when they ask you, discuss advantages and disadvantages, so then it's quite clear. So you have the main body paragraph 1 about advantages and the main body paragraph 2 about disadvantages. They're not asking you about which side is stronger or which side is weaker. Okay, they are only asking you about advantages and disadvantages. So in the introduction, you can just write in the outline sentence the main advantage or advantages if you want to write two, and the main disadvantage or disadvantages if you want to write two disadvantages. Okay, that's what you have to do. And then you will cover the advantages in the main body paragraph 1 and the disadvantages in main body paragraph 2. That's how it works. Okay, let's jump now to question 2. Question 2. Some experts believe that it's better for children to begin learning a foreign language at primary schools rather than secondary school. Interesting. Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? So if you look at the question here, he's asking you, or she's asking you indirectly, not even indirectly actually, he's specifically asking you about your opinion. He's asking you, do this overcome this or outweigh this? So you need to give your opinion. So now you can't miss out the thesis statement or the thesis statement in your introduction, and you will have to restate your opinion again in your conclusion. So don't forget this at all. So as you can see, these two questions are quite different. So that's the first type of questions of Ielts advantages and disadvantages essays, and that's the second type of it. So we need to differentiate between these two questions. So please make sure that you have to delete the idea of having only one type of Ielts advantages and disadvantages essays. So now you have to change your mind about this idea. Okay, don't forget this. Now let's move. So question 1, that's the question 1. Question 1 simply asks us to discuss the advantages and disadvantages. It does not ask for our opinion or say which side is better or worse. So we should not include this information in our answer. This requires a simple structure in which the student will look at the advantages in one paragraph and the disadvantages in the other. As I just told you, quite easy, quite straightforward. Question 2, where they ask you about, do this outweigh this? So question 2 is different because we have to say if the advantages are stronger than the disadvantages. Notice, I didn't say if there are more advantages than disadvantages. The question is not asking you to talk about numbers, but comment on the overall weight of the advantages or disadvantages. What does it mean? Let's jump into an example. For example, there are a huge number of advantages to traveling by private jet, but there is one huge disadvantage, which is the cost that stops most people from flying that way, and therefore the disadvantages outweigh the advantages. So did you get what I'm saying? When they ask you, do this outweigh this, he's not asking about numbers or about the amount or the quantity, no. He's asking about the overall weight, about the weightage, the importance. So if you feel that one disadvantage could be stronger than one advantage, so then you can choose this over this. Okay, so focus on this point. It's not about mentioning a lot of disadvantages if you want to side with disadvantages or advantages on the other hand. Okay, so try to remember this point. So in this example, we will have to decide which side, advantages or disadvantages, is stronger. And this will affect our structure. If you choose advantages, then you will have to say why these are much stronger than the disadvantages and why the disadvantages don't hold much weight. You would also have to make this clear in your thesis statement. What does it mean? So then you will have to include your opinion in the introduction. So before I move on to the structure, let's understand what we have just read together for the second question type of Ielts advantages and disadvantages essays. So as you can see, for example, if you choose advantages over disadvantages, then the first main body paragraph will be about the stronger side, which is advantages. And the second main body paragraph will be about the weaker side, which is disadvantages. However, how to make sure that we write a thorough and a proper explanation in the main body paragraph. You need to focus and concentrate on that very specific key point. Let's jump to the structure for essay 1. So, for the first type of this specific question, which is when they ask you discuss both advantages and disadvantages, let's follow this, or let's check actually this structure. In the introduction, you just have to paraphrase the question and then outline sentence. What does outline sentence mean? So paraphrase the question. I have already explained to you in my previous videos what is paraphrasing, and I will be uploading, by the way, a specific video about a guaranteed technique to not making mistakes in paraphrasing. But let me just give you another hint or another explanation or like a recap of what paraphrasing is. Paraphrasing is when you try to replace the words as much as you can with different words. So that's what we call synonyms. That's what you have to do. So try to change as much as you can of the words in the question and replace them by other words. That's the only technique to make sure that you are paraphrasing properly. Okay? By the way, you can even change the verb tense. For example, if the sentence, for example, is written in the active form, you can make it in the passive form. So it's quite acceptable. Okay? So don't worry about that point. So you need to paraphrase the question in the first sentence of the introduction. And in the second sentence, you need to outline, or you need to write the outline sentence. The outline sentence consists of the main idea of main body paragraph 1 and the essential idea of main body paragraph 2. So you'll have to include the main advantage and the main disadvantage in your outline statement in the introduction. That's it. That's the introduction. Okay? Moving now to supporting paragraph 1, which is the advantages. So you need to start by a topic sentence where you outline the advantage or the two advantages. I do recommend, by the way, I personally recommend, as I have stated before in my problem solution video, you can check it out again. I have recommended everyone to only use one advantage or one disadvantage. Don't use two. Okay? You can use two, by the way. No, it's okay. You can use two, but it's highly recommended to only focus on one, because you might actually, you might miss out the explanation or an example or something, and then you will have to write a very long paragraph. So try to avoid this. Just focus on one advantage, explain it, and give an example about it. That's it. Okay? So as you can see, if you choose to write one advantage, then you just have to write topic sentence, explanation, and an example. However, if you want to write two advantages, then you will have to actually write both advantages in one topic sentence, and then you have to explain the first advantage in another sentence, and then you have to explain the second advantage in an additional sentence, and then after that, in the final sentence, you just have to mention an example of the second advantage. Okay, so it's okay to miss out the example of the first advantage. Okay, you can follow that structure. It's okay. So just topic sentence, explanation, give an example if you want to write one advantage, but if you want to write two advantages, you will have to gather them or just mix them up in one topic sentence, and then you have to explain the first, and then you have to explain the second, and then you will give an example of the second sentence or the second advantage only. Okay, so try to follow that way to make sure that you would score high for task achievement, coherence, and cohesion. Now let's move to supporting paragraph 2, and it's the same way, by the way, which is supporting paragraph 2 would be about disadvantages. So as you can see, you need to, so you have topic sentence, explanation, and example. However, if you want to write 2 disadvantages, you just have to do the same as I have mentioned. So you can write the 2 disadvantages in one sentence, and then you have to explain the first disadvantage, and then you have to explain the second disadvantage, and then you would provide an example of the second disadvantage only. Okay, so as you can see, you can miss out the example sentence for the first advantage or the first disadvantage if you chose to write 2 advantages or 2 disadvantages. Okay, and again, I do recommend to write only 1. So in the conclusion, you just have to summarize the main points, that's it. And for the conclusion, by the way, if you want to guarantee a very safe conclusion, all what you have to do is just try to paraphrase the introduction, that's it. Go back to the introduction, read it again, and paraphrase it. The conclusion is actually a copy of the introduction. If you want to be on the safe side, just paraphrase the introduction. That's it. You don't have to do anything. Or you can just write the 2 main points that you have already written in the introduction and that you have already detailed in the 2 main body paragraphs. You can just try to summarize the key points in like 1 or a couple of sentences in the conclusion. And if you feel like you are maybe in short of words, or you are short of words, you can try to add a suggestion or a recommendation sentence. So you can, for example, recommend something in your conclusion, but don't add new ideas. Don't do it. Many students or many people or many candidates add more ideas in the conclusion. No, don't do that. So you can just add a what's called another idea. Okay, not another idea. I'm sorry, I have repeated myself wrongly. I mean, you just have to add a recommendation sentence or a suggestion sentence of what you have already explained. Okay, so that's the the structure for essay 1, or for the first type of Ielts advantages and disadvantages essays. So it's quite easy. Let me repeat it to you before we move on. So in the introduction, you paraphrase the question, and then you have to write the 2 main ideas, the main advantage and the main disadvantage, or the main advantages and disadvantages. If you choose to write 1 or 2, it's your choice. In supporting paragraph 1, you have to talk about advantages, and then you need to start by the topic sentence and explanation, and then an example. Or if you want to write 2 advantages, then you have to write a topic sentence gathering the 2 advantages in 1 sentence, and then you have to explain the first advantage, and then you have to explain the second, and then you have to give an example of the second advantage. And we follow the same way for the disadvantages section or the disadvantages paragraph, which is the second main body paragraph. Okay, so now let's move to the structure for essay 2, the second question type of Ielts advantages and disadvantages. What is the difference between them? You have to find out, or let's find out ourselves. Let's interpret everything together. So in the structure for the essay 2, where they ask you, do this outweigh this? Do advantages or do disadvantages outweigh advantages or disadvantages, whatever? So he's asking you about your opinion. He's asking you which side is stronger or which side is weaker. So he's asking about your opinion. So now, as you can see in the introduction, we have a thesis statement. So you have to start, as usual, by paraphrasing the question, and then you have to include a thesis statement where you have to state which one outweighs the other. For example, you can, for example, use the standard phrase. This essay, for example, this essay argues that advantages outweigh disadvantages, or in my opinion, advantages overcome disadvantages. Okay, and then after that, you will have to outline to write actually the outline sentence where you have to state the main advantage and the main disadvantage as usual. However, let's move to main body paragraph 1. Main body paragraph 1 will be about the stronger side. So if you choose advantages over disadvantages, so then you will have to start by advantages as this, as a stronger side. So you can start by a topic sentence, explain why it's a strong. You need to explain why this advantage, if you choose advantages as as a stronger, you need to explain why advantages are stronger in the explanation sentence, and then you have to give an example. Okay, that's it. If you choose to write 2 advantages, in this specific case, you have to make them separate. If you remember, in the first essay above, if you go above again, in the first question type, they gathered advantages or the 2 advantages in one sentence, and then they explain the first, and then they explain the second individually, and then they give an example of the second advantage or disadvantage only. But here, if you choose to write 2 advantages in the stronger side, you will need to make them separate. So you have to start by the topic sentence of the first advantage. You need to explain why this is strong, and then you give an example about it. After that, you have a point, and then you have to start by a topic sentence of the second advantage or disadvantage, whatever you choose as the stronger side, and then you have to explain why this is strong, and then you have to give another example about this specific advantage. Okay, so you need to follow this structure, but I would recommend again to only use 1 advantage. You don't need to use 2, only 1. It's fine, it's okay. Even if they ask, I know many people now are wondering, or many students or many candidates are wondering, oh, but in the question is written in the plural form, advantages with S and disadvantages with S. Why are we writing only 1 advantage? It's fine, don't worry about this. It's just like a form, a general form of the question, but they just care about the content, the explanation about how engaging you are in your writing, okay? So don't worry about this. You can only choose 1 advantage or 1 disadvantage, and that's quite enough. Just try to use them specifically. Select a very specific advantage and a very specific disadvantage. Once you choose or select a specific or a very strong advantage or disadvantage, trust me, you don't have to write another one. That's it. It's quite sufficient. It's quite adequate. So as you can see, a topic sentence, and then you have to explain why this is strong, and then you have to give an example. Okay. So in the main body paragraph 2, which is the weaker side. So if you, for example, chose advantages over disadvantages, so then main body paragraph 2 will be about disadvantages. The first sentence, which is always, as usual, the topic sentence, you will have to, write the same disadvantage that you have already written in the introduction. But in the explanation, you can't support your disadvantage. You need to explain why this is not strong. So as if you are trying to deny it to make it as an advantage. That's what you have to do literally. Why? Because it's the weaker side. So you can't support the disadvantage if you chose it. You can't support it as a strong. No, you have to explain why this is not strong, because you have already written in your introduction that advantages outweigh disadvantages, for example. So then when it comes to the weaker side, you can't support the explanation. You need to explain why this is not strong. So as if you are denying this specific point or this specific disadvantage. And then you give an example based on that. Okay? So you explain, after you have done your explanation, you provide an example based on that. Okay? So now, and in the conclusion, summary of main points and the state position. And that's quite known, okay? I don't know if you can just come in, you can also go back to my previous videos and check the first writing task 2 video about opinion essays and how important to restate to the opinion, or even the discussion essays, by the way, because they ask about opinions in the discussion essays. So when it comes to opinion, you need to restate it in your conclusion. So that's why I told you, if you want to write a secure conclusion, just go back to the introduction, read it again, read it carefully, and then go back to the conclusion and fill the blank by paraphrasing the introduction. You can just paraphrase the introduction. Go to the introduction, check it, read it again, and paraphrase it. That's it. Okay, so if you want to guarantee a very strong conclusion, you can just paraphrase your introduction. So now the question 1 sample answer. Let's read the question again. In some countries, young people are encouraged to work or travel for the year between finishing high school and starting university studies. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages for young people who decide to do this. Amazing. Okay. So before we jump on, before we jump into the introduction, now I'm going to give you some time to try to write an introduction. So I try to follow the structure that I have just showed you. So in the introduction here, you just have to paraphrase the question and to write the outline sentence where you have to type in the main advantage and the main disadvantage. Don't write two, it's fine. Just write one advantage and one disadvantage, okay? So I want you to do this in your own way or on your own. And you can write it down, by the way, in the comment section. Okay, so I'm gonna give you about 5 minutes. So I want you to write the introduction in the comment section so I can check it myself. So let's do it. So I'm going to leave the screen as it is. Okay, welcome back. So, do you think that was enough um, to write a proper introduction? What do you think? So now it's time to show you my version. Let's read this. Before embarking on college, many people are advised that a year working or traveling may be, sorry, a good option. This essay would suggest that experience gained and money saved are the biggest advantages of this. So I chose to write two advantages because I can still manage the time. I'm quite aware of the structure. I'm so familiar with this. I'm so used to write a writing task to in less than 30 minutes. So I'm used to that. So I can write two advantages. I have time. I'm able to do that. I'm quite capable. So, but delaying careers and reducing motivation to study are the primary disadvantages. So as you can see in the first sentence, which was a sort of like paraphrasing of the introduction. So as you can see, they used the word before, okay, so they started by here. So before embarking on college, so embarking on means starting. So starting has been replaced by embarking on. College has been replaced. College was used instead of university. They use young people as it is. You can even use, for example, youths, or you can even use students, for example, pupils, young students. So are advised, okay, they advised instead of encouraged, that a year working or traveling. So as you can see, a year working or traveling, so they make it as a noun instead of to work or to travel. So they replace the verbs work and travel by ing nouns, okay? And you can do that. So it may be a good option. So they just added this, okay? Or I just added this. So I just made it in my own way. You can do that yourself, by the way, okay? So as you can see, I tried my best to replace as much as I can of words to be able to write a very structured, paraphrased paraphrased sentence. Now we have the outline sentence where we outline the main advantages or the main advantage and the main disadvantages or the main disadvantage. So as you can see, I'm going to talk about experience gained and money saved as advantages. And I'm going to talk about delaying careers and reducing motivation as disadvantages. And you can even follow this way, by the way. So as you can see, this essay will suggest that it's a good way to start your outline sentence. Blah, blah, blah are the biggest advantages of this, but blah, blah, blah are the primary disadvantages. So you can, by the way, use these words to be able to write a very professional sentence. And I'm telling you this because many people struggle to start a sentence or to connect or link two sentences together. So you can follow the standard writing in here to be able to guarantee a very proficient and a professional introduction or outline sentence. So now we've done from the introduction. So it's time now to move on to main body paragraph 1. In main body paragraph 1, you will have to talk about the advantages, which are experience gained and money saved. Okay, so now I'm gonna give you time, but I'm going to give you some time to write about only one. As I recommended, I have recommended to only talk about one. So don't worry about this. You can either choose this experience gained or money saved. You can either choose money saved or experience gained if you want. So I want you to choose one of these advantages and start writing your main body paragraph 1. So in the main body paragraph 1, you will have to start by a topic sentence, writing this again or this again in your own way. So if you choose experience gained, you can start your sentence by anyway, okay, just try to because in the topic sentence, you will have to use the same idea, but you have to write it in your own way. Like you need to make it more obvious, more clear, more fruitful or productive, okay? So the examiner will feel excited to read the explanation. So you will have to write the topic sentence, by paraphrasing this and adding more, not adding more information, try to make it more clear. Don't add new information or new ideas. You can just expand on, the size of the topic sentence. And then after that, you will have to explain it. And then after that, you will have to provide an example. The example could be chosen based on a personal experience. For example, you can say, my uncle, or I am an example of this myself, blah, 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 blah. And you write the story that you want to talk about, or the event, or the occasion that you want to highlight. And then after that, or you can even, by the way, rely on study. You can make up. You can, for example, say a study, or yes, for example, a survey or a study was done or carried out, for example, in the UK, proved that 26% of people, blah, 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 blah. You can make up, by the way. You can make up numbers, you can make up location, whatever you want, because the examiner is not going to check your facts. So feel free to write whatever you want, okay? So now I'm gonna give you some time to write the first main body paragraph, which will have to be about advantages. And as I told you, choose one of these, either experience gained and money saved. So I'm gonna give you about, because you are practicing this for the first time, so you can take about 7 minutes to write it, okay? So I'm gonna give you now 7 minutes. I'm going to pause myself for 7 minutes, and then I will go back to you. So try to write it down in your comment section below. Okay, let's go back to the explanation. Maybe I miss you. Okay, so let's just check the first main body paragraph, which will be about advantages. So let's see that together. The main advantages of a gap year are learning more about the world and earning money. So that's the topic sentence, and I'm gathering the two advantages in one topic sentence. As I told you, you can do this in the first essay structure. So for the students who have just finished secondary school, working or traveling for a year will allow them to learn what life is like outside of the education system. So that's the first explanation of learning more about the world. Also, third level education. Third level education, by the way, is a synonym of university studies. So you can, instead of saying university studies or university, to avoid the repetition of some words, you can replace these words by other synonyms. So we've replaced the word university by third level education, or you can even use the word tertiary education. Tertiary, it's a very good word to use. It's very academic as well. So also third level education is very expensive, and a lot of students decide to work for 12 months and save up money before they begin their studies. So that's the explanation of the second advantage, which is earning money. Now we have an example of the second advantage. The Times recently reported that the average student at a UK university requires over $12,000 per annum means per year, to survive, just to survive, and many drop out because they cannot afford to stay. Okay, so as you can see, we have an amazing topic sentence gathering the two advantages. We have an explanation of the first advantage, and then we have an explanation of the second advantage, and then we have an example for the second advantage only. Okay, now let's move to the disadvantages sections. So in the disadvantages section, as you can see, you have to follow the same structure. So let's see the disadvantages together. Despite these advantages, students lose a year that could have been used to advance to the future careers, and they often get used to working or traveling and don't want to return to a life of study. So as you can see, we've gathered the two disadvantages in one topic sentence, which is reduced motivation and so if you go back to the actual introduction, the biggest disadvantages are delaying careers and reducing motivation. So as you can see, they have written these in a very beautiful topic sentence. So let's read it again, by the way. So we've already mentioned that the disadvantages are delaying careers and reducing motivation. See how beautiful was the writing style of disadvantages in one topic sentence. So despite these advantages, students lose a year that could have been used to advance their future careers, and they often get used to working or traveling and don't want to return to a life of study. I don't recommend to use don't as a conjunction. Don't use conjunctions. You have to write do not. So don't use don't. You have to write do not. Okay, you have to make them separate. If you want to sound academic in your essay, try to avoid contractions. Okay, for example, you can't say he's, he is, she is, I am, not okay, I have, not of, I would, not I'd. So don't use conjunctions at all, okay? So now let's see the explanation now. As job markets are very competitive, an extra year of experience can make a massive difference when applying for jobs. And those who took a gap year are at a disadvantage. So that was the first explanation of the first disadvantage, which is reduced motivation, or actually maybe yes. Moreover, some decide to bypass university altogether. Bypass means skip university altogether and go straight into a job that is beneath their capabilities or may not offer the same prospects their future career might have done. Okay, so that's the explanation of the second disadvantage, which is delaying careers. Now we have to mention an example of the second disadvantage. For instance, a recent survey by the British government found that 26% of students who take a gap year never enter tertiary education. So as you can see, we use tertiary education and we used also here third level education. They have the same meaning, okay? So tertiary education and third level education means university studies, okay? So these are the beautiful synonyms of the word university education. So as you can see, it's quite easy. We have applied the structure of the first question type essay of IELTS advantages and disadvantages. Now let's see the conclusion. In the conclusion, you just have to paraphrase the introduction. So let's read it together. In conclusion, taking a break from studies can be advantageous if it allows people to accumulate savings or learn more about the world. However, they should also be careful that it does not delay the start of their careers and lead to disillusionment with education. Disillusionment means like sort of like surrendering, you know, when the feeling of surrender or like disappointment. That's the meaning of disillusionment, okay? It's a beautiful noun. Try to use it, okay? So, and as you can see, we've reached 311 words, and you might know, and I guess you know very well that you need to reach at least 250 words. So you have to write a minimum of 250 words. We've done that. We've covered the structure, as you can see. And it's amazing, by the way. Have you noticed the beautiful vocabularies in here? Let's just focus on the vocabularies in this specific essay. So we use the word, we have embarking on beautiful. We have the biggest advantage or the primary disadvantages, experience gained, reducing, delaying is a beautiful word as well. Let's move here. For example, we have the word learning is a good word. Earning money is a good word. What else? Education system is a good word as well. Third level education is a very good word. Save up money. The Times recently, so when they mentioned about the newspaper, the Times, per annum is a good word to use as well. And also, what else do we have? Used to advance their future careers. To advance means to evolve, okay, to prosper. Okay, also massive, we have massive difference is a beautiful word. Job markets, amazing word. Competitive, very beautiful word and very academic. Bypass university altogether also is a good word. At a disadvantage, beautiful words as well. Beneath, a job that is beneath their capabilities. So it's like under your skills means it's like it doesn't match your skills means because you are higher than this and you have to take that job because you need money and you don't want to go. You don't want to go to the university. Okay, so that's the main disadvantage as you remember. Prospects. It's a good word. Might have done. See the use of verbs as well. Before I jump into verbs, tertiary education is a good word. Advantages is a good word. Accumulate is a good word. To save up means accumulate means gather or save up. Disillusionment with education or disillusionment is a very good word. So as you can see, we have a lot of good vocabularies. You don't have to be very fascinating about using very high level of vocabularies. It's fine. It doesn't matter, by the way, but it's good to actually use a variety of vocabularies so the examiner actually wants to see if you are able to use a different category of words. So what you have to do is you need to try to avoid or avert repetition. So try to avoid repetition of some words as much as you can, okay? Now let's focus on the verb tenses in here. So as you can see now we have the passive form here, are advised, embarking on, working, traveling, ing, will suggest, that's the future form. What else? Reducing motivation, okay. Let's focus on the words here. Will allow is the future. Who have just finished, that's the present perfect, have finished. So that's the present perfect in here. Decide to, so that's actually present simple. What else do we have? Reported, that's the past simple. Requires, that's the present simple. Drop out, present simple, because it's a fact. Well, could have been. So that's the actually sort of like conditional. Okay, could have been. It's a conditional form. It's amazing to use this as well. I'm going to explain and I'm going to actually upload a video about all the conditional forms in English. And also, what else do we have? get used to. Beautiful. It's beautiful. Don't want to go state. So that's another form or another verb of in the present simple form found. That's past simple. What else do we have here? Okay, so as you can see, we have they should. Okay, as you can see, we have a lot. We have a variety of words. We have a variety of sentences, or variety of verbs in this essay. It's good, by the way, to try to use a variety of verb tenses to make sure that you are taking this into consideration. So when the examiner comes across a lot of or a variety of verb tenses, you would sort of like put him in a relaxing mode. So when the examiner sees or comes across a lot of verb tenses, that would be amazing, by the way. It's not for example, it's not annoying. It's not annoying to use it. It's fine, you can use it, but don't exceed the usage of it. Many people, by the way, I've noticed, and because I do teach some students privately, I've noticed that some students stick to one specific verb tense sometimes just because they know how to use it. For example, they use a lot past perfect in many sentences. You don't have to use the past perfect all the time. We have a specific usage for past perfect. Go back to my videos and check how do we use the past perfect and past perfect continuous, by the way. It's very useful to know, or it's very important to know how to use the past simple, or the past perfect and the past perfect continuous. So try to use a variety of verbs. For example, if you want to talk about a fact, you have to use the present simple. If you want to talk about something that is happening right now or in the meantime, you can use the present continuous. If you want to talk about something that will happen, so then that's the future. If you want to talk about something that happened in the past and you know the time, you can use the past simple. If you want to talk about something that happened in the past, but you don't know the time, there is no definite time, so then you can use the present perfect. Or you can use the present perfect continuous to highlight something that was happening and still happening till now. Okay, that's where we use, for example, I have been, or like have or has plus been plus the verb and ing. That's the present perfect continuous. Okay, so it's very important to try to use a variety of verb tenses. Now let's actually focus on the conjunction words. So we have but in here, amazing. We have and is good to use as well. Okay. Well, also, yes, also is a good word. It's another, okay, what else? Despite is a very important conjunction word. Often is a good adverb, by the way. As is actually quite good to use sometimes. Moreover means furthermore, in addition, it's good to use. For instance, and yeah, for instance is very good. And however, we have however in here. Very important to use this in your essays as well. So as you can see, we have a variety also, or like sort of like a diverse category of conjunction words. Conjunction words are very important to use in your essays because they link all the sentences together. They do provide a thorough meaning of the sentences that you are writing. Okay, so try to use conjunction words. So as you can see, I have just highlighted the usage or the use, or the use of verb tenses, conjunction words, vocabularies, simple sentences, and complex sentences. So it's very important to try to remember this. And by the way, not by the way, and definitely synonyms, just to try to avoid repetition in your essay. Okay, if you try to actually comply or follow, or just go with this way, you would ensure a score, like a very high score in Ielts, at least 7.5 or 8. Now let's move to the second question type, which is that one. Some experts believe that it's better for children to begin learning a foreign language at primary schools rather than secondary school. Do the advantages of this outweigh the disadvantages? So now let's read the question. Let's read the the introduction together. So now let's read first the paraphrasing sentence or the paraphrased sentence. Some authorities think that it's more favorable for the pupils to begin studying languages at primary school instead of secondary school. So what have you noticed in here? If you read the sentence again, so we used authorities instead of experts. We used more favorable instead of better. We used the pupils instead of children or young students. Pupils means young students or children. We used studying instead of learning. And we used instead of, we replaced rather than by instead of, as you can see. Now let's focus on the second sentence, which is the theta statement. As you can see, he's asking, do this outweigh this? So you have to include your opinion. Okay, so try to go back to the beginning of the video to understand what I'm talking about right now. Okay, so just try to check structure 2 for this specific question type of Ielts advantages and disadvantages essays, where you have to include the theta statement. You need to include your opinion. So it says this essay will argue that the advantages of this outweigh the drawbacks. The drawbacks means disadvantages. Let's see. The essay will first demonstrate that the earlier someone learns an additional language, the more likely they are to master it. So that's one advantage. And that it brings added cognitive benefits. Cognitive means mental, okay, or intellectual benefits. So as you can see, I have written 2 advantages because I am able to do that. I can do that on time. I have a lot of information that I can use in my main body paragraph 1. I do have an explanation, an explanation of the first advantage and an example. And I do have an explanation and an example of the second disadvantage, advantage, okay? But as I told you, just use one, okay? Try to only use one, it's fine. It's better to be on the safe side. So let's continue. Followed by an analysis of how the primary disadvantage, namely confusion with the native tongue, is not valid. That's very important. Why did he say, or why did I actually write is not valid? Why? Guess why? Because I did already mention in the theta statement that advantages outweigh the drawbacks. So then my stronger side is advantages and my weaker side is drawbacks. So then I have to explain why this is not strong. So I have to deny this then. So then you will actually mention the disadvantage, but you have to say, I'm going to show that this is not valid. I'll explain to you what I mean. So now let's go to the main body paragraph 1. The main reason to start kids off with foreign languages early is that this increases the likelihood they will achieve fluency in adulthood. Likelihood means probability. That is to say that they will have far more years to perfect their skills, and it will seem perfectly normal to speak bilingually. Bilingually means 2 languages. For example, in countries such as Holland and Norway, where English is taught from a very young age, more than 95% of adults speak it at an advanced level. Okay, so we've done from the topic sentence of the first advantage, the explanation of it, and then the example of it. Now I have to write the topic sentence, the explanation, and the example sentence of the second advantage. And as I told you, you don't need this. You don't need to follow this. Just try to write this only. So try to actually write about 1 advantage. It's quite enough. It's quite enough. So don't worry about the second, okay? But I'm just doing this to give you more vocabularies and to give you more, like a clear picture of how to write properly and in details. Now, learning a second language also helps to improve overall cognitive abilities. So that's the topic sentence of the second advantage. In other words, it benefits the overall development of a child's brain. A recent survey by Cambridge University found that children who studied a new language before the age of 5 were significantly more likely to score higher in mathematics and science. So as you can see in this one, We've done the topic sentence, the explanation, and then the example. Okay, so beautiful. How beautiful is this example? A recent survey by Cambridge University found that you can make it up, by the way. Okay, the examiner is not going to check your facts, and I've told you this. Now let's move to the, so that's the standard side, which is advantages, because I have already written that advantages outweigh disadvantages. So I've done from the first main body paragraph, which is the stronger side, advantages. Now let's move to the weaker side, which is disadvantages, or the main disadvantage. Thus, opposed to this, say that it causes the child to become confused between their mother tongue and the other language. So that's the main disadvantage, the confusion, being confused. When you're confused, so your native language with another language, like with another foreign language. So that's the main disadvantage. However, let's see. However, there is actually no evidence to support this view. Why? I can't support it. Do you remember? You can't support it. You need to explain why this is not strong. So, however, there is actually no evidence to support this view, and children from bilingual families do just as well in both languages. So what did I do right now? I denied the disadvantage, which is confusion. I made it as an advantage. So I transformed it into an advantage. You have to do that because it's the weaker side. Because you've already mentioned in the introduction that advantages outweigh disadvantages. So you can't support the disadvantage in your paragraph. You need to explain why this is not strong, okay? And you need to provide an example based on that. Let's see the example. So the example, by the way, is matching the explanation. My own son was brought up, means was raised, speaking both Vietnamese and English, and outperforms most of his classmates in both, okay? So as you can see, the explanation and the example are matching, okay? But the explanation and the example are not matching with the actual topic sentence here, which is confusion, okay? So as you can see, you write the main advantage as it is, but now you have to not support it in the explanation. You need to do the opposite, and you need to continue this in the example sentence, okay? So amazing, it was an amazing paragraph. Now let's move to the last paragraph, which is the conclusion. On balance, the fact that early foreign language learning leads to higher fluency and improved brain function clearly outweighs the flawed argument that it impairs uptake of native languages. So if you go back to the introduction, by the way, you would notice that the conclusion is completely completely paraphrasing the introduction. That's it. So conclusion is a paraphrased version of the introduction. That's it. And as you can see, I have included my opinion again when I said clearly outweighs this. So you have to restate the opinion in the conclusion again. So amazing, okay? Let me just explain to you flawed argument. So we have flawed argument. Flawed argument means drawback or disadvantage. Impairs means obstruct or hinder or impede, you know, when you, okay? So that's the meaning of it. Uptake means the consumption or absorption or how able to take it up, okay? So now let's focus, by the way, on some of the vocabularies in here. We have a lot of good vocabularies. So we have favorable, we have drawbacks, we have demonstrate, show means show. We have cognitive, benefits. Cognitive means mental. Okay, I've told you this. Native tongue, namely is a good word, and it's a good adverb as well. What else do we have? Vocabularies, adulthood, likelihood, the main reason, bilingually, perfectly. See how beautiful is the usage of adverbs. The adverbs give more sense to your sentences. So try to use adverbs as well. For example, is a good word to use as well. Advanced, at an advanced level. very beautiful word. Improve, overall, cognitive abilities, amazing. Development is a good word. Survey, significantly. So we have a lot of adverbs. We have a lot of beautiful adverbs in this specific test. Amazing. Adverbs, I love adverbs. They beautify the sentence. They give it more sense, more meaning, more sensory, like more sensory explanation. What else? We have score higher is a good word. Mother tongue instead of native tongue. You can use even mother tongue. Bilingual families. Brought up or was brought up, outperforms when you supersede someone. And yeah, I've explained these vocabularies in the conclusion. Now let's focus on the verb tenses. So we have the future tense in here. We also have to master it. Okay. I'm going just to highlight the most important verb tenses in here. Okay, we used a lot the active, the active form. It's beautiful to use the active form. Is taught, for example. It benefits, so that's the present simple. Found, that's the past simple here. We have the past simple. And studied, past simple. To become, okay, so that's the present simple. To support this view, amazing. Was brought up, that's the passive form of, yeah, what else do we have? Leads to, that's the present simple. So as you can see, outweighs, that's the present simple. We have a variety. I do recommend also to use the present perfect simple or the present perfect continuous or the past perfect sometimes. These are very important to use in your essay. They give you more, sort of like, more livability, okay? Like just more life to your essay. What else do I have to focus on here? Conjunction words, okay. Let's focus on the conjunction words or the connecting adverbs. Okay, what do we have in the first paragraph? I can't see. Can you see with me? Okay. The second one, what do we have in here? For example, very. Now, very is an adverb. In other words, is good. It's a conjunction word. I can't see much. However, does oppose to this say, it's a beautiful sentence. As you can see, it's beautiful to actually start the main body paragraph 2 by an opposing terminology or an opposing statement. For example, on the other hand, or despite advantages, blah, 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 blah. Or however, okay, you can always use an opposing conjunction word to show the examiner that you are able to compare the two body paragraphs or to show the comparison of the two body paragraphs. Okay, so that's all. Okay, so that's all. So I hope that you have fully understand the lesson today. I will actually upload more videos about some techniques and some strategies or some tips in IELTS writing task 2 essays. I will upload more videos about IELTS writing task 1, letters or graphs or charts. As you know, we have two types of writing task 1. We have the graphs, and that's for the IELTS academic IELTS candidates. And we have the letter and writing task 1 essays, and that's for the general IELTS candidates. I will upload more videos to make sure that you would always be engaging, and especially if you are preparing for IELTS, these videos are so helpful for you. Please, guys, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and activate the bell button to receive all my upcoming uploads. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you very soon on my channel. I take care, and please, if you have any questions, any questions, just let me know, okay? So don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions, and I will reply to you personally. Try to use this strategy in your essays to guarantee a band 8 score, to score high in IELTS, If you follow the strategy, trust me, you would score high in IELTS. As I told you, go back to the videos, keep watching this again. If you watch or if you understand every single word I said in this video, it's guaranteed to have a very high mark in IELTS Writing +2. Okay, thanks so much again for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. Best of luck and much love for you all. Bye bye.